So the Northampton Saints have done it. They are in the Premiership final, 22 points to 20, very close against Saracens. Maybe that home advantage had a little bit to play with it, but I do think overall they were slightly the better side, slightly more dangerous in attack, but goodness me, Saracens put up a fierce resistance, and it's kind of the end of an era for Saracens as Farrell moves on, as the Vunipolas move on. They're still a very good side, probably not quite as good as they used to be. Some of their players just coming to their end of their careers, but still some really good play from them. But I think it was a deserved win for Northampton. Let me know if you agree down below. Love to know all your thoughts, of course. And one question I had at the beginning of the match is, what sort of Saracens are going to turn up? As in, what game plan can they put down? Because they do have the ability to play in any way. And they came to run and pass the ball to start with, which is great stuff. Sure, they did do some high bombs and stuff like that, but definitely it was a mixed game with plenty of running. Gonzalez looking so good once again. What a player Argentina have on their hands. What an athlete. He steps a couple of defenders very early on. Some big hits from both sides, Saints here, but a bit too keen from Tom Pearson early on. And that's one thing that Tom Pearson has to improve. Yes, he is an international quality player, as in his commitment, his physicality, but he does make some poor decisions sometimes. This time he goes for the human missile tackle with no arms, and that's obviously going to be a penalty all day. So 0-3, Pearson a bit to learn, and he does get hauled off fairly early on in the second half, although he's only just come back to fitness. So I had put down he misses out for that England tour, and of course I'm going to have an eye on that England tour in this game, and I think that's one of the reasons why he doesn't go this time. The first attack for Northampton, and we see that all-court ability they have, that attack that can go all over the pitch, and interestingly their first choice is to go to the air to Tommy Freeman. They know Tommy Freeman is quite special in the air, and a big take over his head from Parton shows how good he is there. Yes, we know Tommy Freeman might not have quite that top-end pace compared to the best in the world, but he's got lots of threats, and I think his aerial game, his defensive game is really good. Another reason why he's going to go and probably start for England. So great start to the match from both sides. Really set up the contest very early on. The first big mistake of the game came from Saracens. Elliot Daly, who had a pretty good game actually apart from that, hammers a free kick straight into touch. He's outside the 22. He should really be knowing that. But goodness me, he kicked out of hand very long and very straight, but that was a mistake. But some good tackles and jackals from Saracens, sharp from Benel, saves the day, and there was plenty of that from both sides. Some quality defending as well as attacking. Really was a good all-round game. Early in this first half, some notes on Ollie Slightholme, who looked very dangerous ball in hand, but his tackling definitely raises some issues if he's going to go on that summer tour with England. Twice he gets flat-footed, and also he goes for kind of stand-up, shirt grab at arm's length tackles. I don't like that. Players can dive, try and get the shoulder in at least. Saw that twice. Is that kind of a theme? Let me know if you've watched Slightholme a lot and you think his tackling is a theme, or that's just a one-off. So something to bear in mind for Steve Borthwick, that is for sure. Now, one note I do make in this first 15 minutes is that the Northampton scrum, particularly Trevor Davison, looks to be having Mako Vunipola in a bit of trouble early doors. I said let's keep an eye on it, and indeed that scrum developed into a serious weapon as the game went on. A big problem for Saracens because they conceded a lot of penalties off that. Now, early in this game, Saracens were better at getting through phases. It definitely took a while for Northampton's attack to warm up. They go through a stack of penalties. Elliot Daly slots another, and he's kicking instead of Farrell. So clearly Farrell can't be quite right, but Elliot Daly kicked really well in this game. So that's 6-0 up after 15 minutes. It takes 18 minutes for Northampton to get going for the first time in attack, and it's their man Odendahl, the big centre, who is their best attacker of the half for sure, smashing through Tompkins in the carry, and then the ball comes back, and yes, it is a brilliant pop pass, delay pop pass from Furbank to thread the ball back to Odendahl. But if you watch carefully, Tompkins, who was kind of knocked about in that first carry from Odendahl, can't get back. He limps back, can't make the tackle on Odendahl, and he cruises through for the try. So actually, Odendahl, by smashing Tompkins in the first carry, sets himself up for the try in the second, although Furbank, amazing pass, and Furbank had a really good game. And if you were saying this is England's fullback and you watched it for the first time on this game, you'd say absolutely. So Big try for Northampton, 7-6, big play, double play from Odendahl. On 24 minutes, a little bit lazy from Jamie George because Northampton actually work a really good play off a line out down the short side, but Jamie George, who's in front of the grubber from Van Zyl, stays offside and carries on with the supporting line, so it's a no try. Could he have held off slightly? I think so. Surely he would have known he's offside, so that was a bit strange there from George. For Saracens, their best attacker in the backs is Elliot Daly, and say what you like about Elliot Daly in the Premiership, he looks really, really good. Made some brilliant breaks and plays in this match. He is going on that England tour, whether you like it or not, whether he should or not. He really tears it up for Saracens and in the Premiership. Then on 27 minutes, the second time that Tommy Freeman shows his class in the air, another high two-handed take above his head, creates a penalty, 10-6, so quality work from Tommy Freeman and Northampton just pushing ahead. But it's tight, it's a knockout game, this is how it should be. A nasty cold drop from Owen Farrell kills a good turnover opportunity, and there were a couple of bad drops for Saracens there. And just as Saints are getting a bit of momentum in this half, Tom Pearson with his second pretty dozy penalty of the half, clear hands on the floor, and for some reason he still goes for the jackal, something he's got to rule out because he would have known he had hands on the floor, and that's a reason why I definitely wouldn't be taking him this summer. Still stuff to work on him for Tom Pearson. Physically, I think he has it. One thing that Saracens don't have is a big carrier like Odendahl. Nick Tompkins getting smashed back in the tackle. He is a bit lightweight sometimes if he can't get his footwork going. And just towards the end of that half, Northampton are starting to grow in attack, starting to get their phases going. Mitchell breaking around the ruck, which is where he's at his best. And Finn Smith getting really flat to the line, moving Saracens around. And Curtis Langdon, the hooker, getting his hands on the ball, a real live wire with half breaks and offloads. He's had an amazing season. I really want him to go on that England tour for sure. And they work a well-deserved penalty on half-time, 16-6. It's a pretty close game, kind of general play-wise, so a 10-point lead, I think, is a fantastic return for Northampton at half-time. Just after half-time, we see that Northampton scrum really getting on top. Waller and Davison causing all sorts of problems. Do you take Davison on tour instead of Dan Cole? Say that could be something you do if you want to freshen up those tight head stocks a little bit. Anyway, 46 minutes, that's twice in 5 minutes we see the prowess of Finn Smith really going flat to the line, creating, popping passes just at the right minute, kind of like George Ford does, maybe with a little bit of extra pace because he's a little bit younger, but I do think he's a very similar sort of player. But one thing Northampton have is they have multiple creative players. Furbank is like a slightly quicker 10 attacking the line, and also they like to use Dingwall as a first receiver 10 so they can leave Finn Smith or Furbank as the second wave attacker. It really works. 3 playmakers and then the power of Odendahl and Freeman and Slightholme. So it's a nice balance to that Northampton backline. And another thing Northampton benefit from is Courtney Laws, because he is that world-class line-out jumper and restart taker, but he plays at 6, so you kind of get those 3 second rows plus the mobility. He had a big game. He stayed on for the whole thing. Very impressive from Courtney Laws. Billy V, though, doesn't last the whole game. He's hooked off after 50 minutes. Tom Willis comes on to add energy, but doesn't really have that impact you'd have liked. What they do have as aces in the pack are the 2 Theos, Theo Dan and Theo McFarland. And indeed, Theo McFarland, with a great offload, sets up Saracens' best attacking set of the half. The ball eventually getting to Farrell out wide. And it is a good break, but to be fair, Alex Waller looks to be running through treacle at this point as he doesn't get anywhere near Farrell, and Farrell puts in a lovely grubber kick, perfectly weighted for Lewington to score. So lovely kick, but goodness me, that was painful to watch from Waller. Try for Lewington, a laser wide kick from Daly as well, gets the score back to within a point, 16-13. That was vital for Saracens to get back in the score then. And not to be beaten, Finn Smith puts his perfectly weighted grubber kick in for Slightholme, who can't quite dribble the ball home. And then Slightholme again, a second chance just after that, but another poor kick, a chip and chase this time. So is that another area of Slightholme's game to improve? I don't know. And they do replace Alex Waller, probably just a play too late because he definitely cost them the try there, not getting to Farrell. Then a painful miss by Finn Smith, and it looks like the game is coming back to Saracens. Then a massive play from Alex Mitchell, who probably doesn't have the perfect passing game sometimes, but where he is fantastic is his breaking game. He breaks out left, dummies, and then flicks back inside for the break. Brilliant stuff. He supports his own play, and it looks like he is in. In fact, I would say he is in. If he dives early, if he just dives properly, he scores. But superhuman from Gonzalez to get back and tackle him just into touch. What a player Gonzalez is, as I've said. But goodness me, why oh why didn't Mitchell dive? I think he just thought he was home, so he didn't have to bother. Never underestimate Gonzalez. But with 20 minutes to go, it's Northampton's turn to bring their ace in the pack off the bench, and that is Lewis Ludlam. What a big miss he will be when he goes at the end of the season. He adds ballast to the carrying, and Mitchell again slicing the Saracens' defence apart. And then a big brain fade from Tom Willis, who forgets you can't dive on the ball when it's within a metre of the back of a ruck. So that's a bad penalty to concede. 19-13. Now, one thing that hasn't changed for Northampton, despite new props being on for both sides, is crushing that scrum. We've got Yogan and Miller-Mills crushing Maui and Hoskins. A massive issue for Saracens. They're not going to win tight games without a scrum, and that was the case. And another interesting thing, with about 15 minutes to go, Maro Itoje is hauled off. You wouldn't normally see that in the past. You wouldn't see Courtney Laws being taken off for Saints in a game as big as that. So kind of shows that Itoje isn't irreplaceable these days. He had a solid game, but I thought that was interesting. And with 10 minutes to go, Northampton are on top. They've got long spells of possession and, importantly, territory, even when they get turned over. And it looks like they're going to put this game to bed. Mitchell nearly breaks again blind to score off that dominant scrum, but another scrum penalty anyway. So it goes to 22-13, crucially beyond that converted try. And it looks to be it when Nick Tompkins, who's had a poor game, like I said, flies up and Furbank steps him, and brilliant acceleration to make the break. Very, very impressive running game from Furbank, and his kicking looks good as well. But Daly, like I said, is playing well as well on the counter-attack, and he breaks, and Lazowski should be free, but makes a horror cold drop. So that was a massive drop for Saracens. If they got that one, who knows? But one thing Saracens don't do is lay down and die. A brilliant turnover from Tompkins, making up a bit from his other errors, and Daly, what a set of plays from him. Huge kick to touch from the penalty. Off the line out, he inserts himself out wide. Brilliant handling from Farrell, and then Daly to put Sinty in, and a lovely conversion from Daly to Boots. He is so in that England squad, whether we like it or not. 22 points to 20 with one play to go the length of the pitch, but they can't do it. They try and run out, but Laws and co hold them up for the maul turnover, and that is it. So a really exciting game. I think it was deserved by Northampton, who I think are the better all-round team. Saracens, not quite the team they were, but still very good. Some of the players coming to the end of their careers. Farrell, the Vunipolas, maybe looking a touch off the pace compared to the others, dare I say. The scrum also a big issue, but still some great players for Saracens. The likes of Gonzalez, Earl looking really good, Daly looking really good, like I said. But deserved winners and deserved finalists are Northampton Saints. Can they put a big game together to lift that Premiership title, which I think would be fitting because they top the league, but anything can happen in these finals. Get in the comments, let me know what you thought about that game, about the players, and also subscribe, like if you like these sorts of things, and I'll catch you next time.